to show you without a shadow of a doubt. I know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. We're going to go into this book right here. It's called Explorers from Egypt to Mars. Explorers. We're going into Timeline Explorers. Now watch this. Watch this, people. Watch this. This book tells you that the white man is the council cell of the earth. He's the devil of the earth. Okay, now, look down here. You see where it says guns? Guns were unknown in America. Guns. Pow, pow, pow. Click, click, click. Pow, pow, pow. Guns were unknown in America. The ones brought by the first explorers were not very accurate, but they were both deadly and terrifying. Now, so if guns was not known in the Americas, the Western Hemisphere, the Western world, this Western civilization, if guns were not known in America, who in the hell brought the guns here? Who in the hell brought the violence here? The European settlers brought the guns here. The Spaniards, the conquistadors, the Inquisitions, the Italians, the British Pilgrims, the British Puritans, they brought the guns. The European settlers brought guns to America. So when you're talking about shoot 'em up, click, click, bang, bang, when you're talking about stuff like that, and you talking about in the American Constitution, the Bill of Rights concerning the right to bear arms, who gave us the right to bear arms? The so-called white people. So how in the hell they're going to talk about all other nationality of people promoting violence and bringing violence to this Western civilization when they were the first ones to introduce guns to the Americas, when they shot up the Native Americans? When the so-called white man came over here with his muzzle loaders and killed 77 to 100 million indigenous Native Americans. Nobody knew about no damn violence in America until you white people came. Because you the devil, man. This is what I'm trying to tell you. How would you know how to load a gun if you never saw a gun? How would you know how to shoot a gun if you never saw a gun? Somebody had to introduce a gun to you. Somebody had to teach you how to load it. Somebody had to teach you how to cock it back. Somebody had to teach you how to pull the trigger. And somebody had to teach you how to take someone else's life. Who is that? That's the so-called white man. I'm trying to tell you this. All right? Now, we're going to continue on. I see Venice, Judah, Israel is still tuned in, and Todrick Butler is still tuned in. Thank you for your time. Now, we're gonna keep moving on. Rats. R-A-T-S, rats. These nasty rodents were on every ship. Some ships had to hire young boys to do nothing but kill rats all day. When a ship came to shore, so did European rats. So where did all these infested rats come from? These diseased rats, where did they come from? The white people brought rats to America because they are rats themselves. It tells you, it says these nasty rodents was on every ship. What ship you think they talking about? They talking about the Pinta. They talking about the Nina. They talking about the Santa Maria. They talking about the good ship Jesus. They talking about the slave ship Amistad. All these European settlers that settled to America by boat, they brought rats over here. No one knew what rats was until the European settlers showed up. This is what I'm telling you. They brought all kind of plagues and diseases over here, man. Because they are the devil themselves. They are the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Let me show you something. These nasty rodents were on every ship. Some ships had to hire young boys to do nothing but kill rats all day. Wow. When a ship came to shore, so did European rats. They swarmed around every colony and multiplied, eating the harvests and spreading disease. And there is no getting rid of them. They are pests to this day. Now watch this. Germs. Germs. Who is behind the germs? All explorers carried thousands of germs. All explorers carried thousands of germs. So when the Bible speaks about Adam and Eve not going near the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it was talking about you same so-called wicked ass white people that did what? That brought rats to America, that did what? That infiltrated guns, infiltrated violence in America, also, and that brought germs to America. So far, we've seen that you European settlers brought guns to America. We've seen that you European settlers brought rats to America. Now we're reading about you European settlers bringing germs to America. And you wonder why God told Adam and Eve to stay away from that damn tree of knowledge of good and evil. Because it had nothing good to offer. This is what I'm trying to tell you. But you know what? Many of you will open your Bible and you will not understand and understand this. You read it in the Bible about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You don't know who the hell it's talking about, because the Bible, when you read the Bible and certain chapters in your Bible, certain chapters are metaphorical. Certain chapters are allegorical. Certain chapters are similitarized. Certain chapters are parables that's hard to be understood. And so when you read the Bible, you thinking it's talking about a damn tree outside. Because the Bible wasn't made for everybody to understand. Only the true sons of God, only the true prophets will understand the scriptures of the Bible. Because the understanding and interpretation weren't given to everybody, man. No wonder the Most High told Adam and Eve not to mess around with this tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is this wicked ass white man, these white women and his people. And we still messing around with these folks today. Same damn tree of knowledge. You mess around with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you're going to die. Germs. Germs. All explorers carried thousands of germs. Too small to see, yet the greatest killers in history. The germs cause measles, smallpox. So they brought measles and smallpox. Now wait a minute. Who put smallpox on Native Americans in the 1620s? The British Pilgrims, man. They gave the Native Americans blankets filled with smallpox. White people put smallpox and measles on Native Americans. Native Americans never encountered smallpox or measles. Never knew what that shit was in their whole entire life until white people decided that we would put measles and smallpox disease on Native American people. Who is the tree of knowledge of good and evil that the Most High tells Adam and Eve not to go near to? It's you so-called white people. Let's continue on. So why didn't all the explorers die? Yeah, why didn't all these... If all these white people carry these germs, why didn't all the explorers die? These diseases had killed many in Europe. But once you were infected, you were immune. Most of the explorers were immune, but these germs were new in America. It says, but these germs were new in America. It says, but these germs were new in America. So most of the European people, they was immune to the goddamn germs. Because they're immune to abomination and wickedness and filth in the earth. This is why the Messiah Christ, he said that the so-called white people were pigs in the New Testament. He tells the Jews, do not cast your pearl before swine. Do not Do not cast your pearls before swine. You see, man, y'all not going to understand. That's why I'm making this video. It's not funny. I know a lot of people going to take it as a damn joke and thinking it's a game. It's not funny. I'm serious, man. Most of the explorers were immune, but these germs were new to America. In some places, entire populations was wiped out. The germs spread quickly, sometimes reaching and wiping out populations before the explorers arrived. Now let's go into the Bible. Let's go into the Bible and look further concerning these germs. All right, let me get my composition book out. I'm trying to open your eyes up, guys. I'm trying to teach you something. Wait a minute. I got further information to show you guys. I'm not playing. All right. Thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Let's head over to some more book, chapter, and verses right quick. I want to show you guys something. Deuteronomy 28:61. Deuteronomy 28:61. And let's see what's going on concerning germs and the germs and diseases. Deuteronomy 28:61, man. All right. So this is Deuteronomy 28:61. So Deuteronomy 28:61. Now 61 is based off cursings for disobedience. Deuteronomy 28:61 is going to talk about cursings for disobedience. So that's letting us know that we, as the children of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the real Jews. You are the children of Israel today. We, as the children of Israel, did something to God. We pissed God off because we did not keep his commandments, and he put cursings for disobeying his laws on us as the nation of Israel. So let's read what the cursings that he put on us was and still is today in Deuteronomy 28:61 concerning these germs. All right, here we go. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. Let me read it again, Deuteronomy 28:61. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law. So he's telling you that it's sicknesses and plagues that the Bible don't talk about, that the Lord will bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. Now, what are two primary sicknesses and plagues that the Bible never talked about, that the Lord said he was going to bring upon the children of Israel? Measles and smallpox, man. Measles and smallpox. So how did the Lord bring these sicknesses upon the children of Israel? By using white people, man. Let me show you. Germs. All explorers carried thousands of germs. Christopher Columbus was an explorer. He carried thousands of germs. Amerigo Vespucci was an explorer. He carried thousands of germs. Hernan Cortez, he carried thousands of germs. Hernan de Soto, he was an explorer. Francisco Pizarro, he was an explorer. All these people, Marco Polo, he was an explorer. All these people were white people. European settlers, it tells you that they brought germs over here. They brought diseases over here. So when the Bible tells you this in Deuteronomy 28:61, it says, also every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of the law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Most High God used white people to what? To convey these diseases to us as a nation. for disobeying his law. So if you ever wonder where in the hell diseases, plagues, sicknesses come from, it come from you wicked ass, filthy ass white people. And I'm gonna put it like that, man. Like it or love it or leave it, man. If you wonder where all these damn rats, these damn infested rats come from in America, it came off the European settlers' slave ship. It came off the European settlers' boats. Every disease that you can think about in America, white people have ushered it in. That's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The Most High told, let me show you something, man. Let me go back to Genesis. I'm not done. I'm just tuning up. I'm just tuning up. I'm not done. Watch this. And you wonder why he tells Adam this in Genesis 2 and 2:17. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 17. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. Don't mess around with these white people. Thou shalt not eat of it. Thou shalt not learn from it. Thou shalt not hang around them. For in that day that thou eat thereof, thou shalt surely die. So if you go and mess around with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, your ass gonna end up dying. Why? Because the tree of knowledge of good and evil with the same white people that brought plagues and diseases on us. They was the plagues and the diseases that the Lord sent upon the children of Israel for the disobedience of his commandments. He tells them, if you hang around this tree, you're gonna die. Every time somebody hang around some white folks, somebody gets sick. Every time somebody hang around some white folks, somebody turns evil. Somebody get plagued with disease and sickness. And then guess what happens? Death. Because the so-called white man is death himself. Don't you know the so-called white race is the epitome of death? They are death themselves. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? I'm going to show you in the Bible. So for the wages of sin is death. Now Romans 6:23 tells you for the wages of sin is death. So how do you sin? If you never knew no sin. Adam and Eve in the beginning did not know any type of sin at all. Adam and Eve in the beginning was righteous people. They did not know any sin at all. They did not know any evil at all. They did not know any negative things at all. Everything they knew was good and very good. It was righteous and positive. So how in the hell did Adam and Eve end up getting put on game on sinning and grinning and fulfilling abomination in the earth? How did Adam and Eve learn that? Because they went around a certain nation of people that God told them not to hang around. And that was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And guess what the effect was of them hanging around it? Death. This is what happens when you choose to invite white people in your circle. Death. Mosquitoes. Let's go back into the book. Timeline Explorers. Let's go back into the book. Wanda Smith is watching. Tonio Johnson is watching. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Mosquitoes. Imagine sitting outside on a hot evening and not hearing a single mosquito. That was life in Hawaii. Now Hawaii is located down there in where the Pacific Ocean at, down there where the Polynesians. Okay, Hawaii is an island that's located in the Pacific Ocean, and that is on the west coast. So that was life in Hawaii because they telling you that no mosquitoes was around. Let's see who brought mosquitoes. Not one mosquito ever bit or bothered a Hawaiian at night before 1826. So after 1826, somebody brought mosquitoes. It says, but in that year, a whaling ship arrived, and so did the mosquitoes. Now wait a minute. So they telling you that European settlers brought mosquitoes. white people brought mosquitoes over here. We just showed you white people brought rats over here off the European boats, off the European ships. White people brought germs over here known as measles and smallpox. And yes, white people brought unfamiliar weeds over here. We showed you that white people brought guns to America. Guns were unknown in America until white people showed up and decided to kill and take lands. So when the Bible speaks of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it's talking about white people. It's a metaphor. It's talking about white people. They are the tree of knowledge of good and evil. They don't mean you no good. They brought guns to America. They brought mosquitoes to America. They brought rats to America. They brought unfamiliar weeds to America. They brought germs to America and so much more. They brought death to America. That's that same tree that Genesis was telling Adam and Eve not to hang around. So it was never a tree in the book of Genesis when it speaks about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This tree of knowledge of good and evil classified a wicked nation of people that they were not to eat from, that they were not to learn from. But no, black people, Hispanic people, Latinos, Native Americans still like to make dealings with white people, and that's why you are still dying. Because when you hang around white folks, you get cancer. You get spiritual cancer. I'm telling you, this is not no racist statement. This is not a racial video. This is the truth video. Now, wait a minute. Let me show you something else. Now, did not the Bible tell you, wait a minute, let's look at Deuteronomy 28:15. Because we as the nation of Israel, blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, we as the Jews, the true Jews, we the true Jews. Because we got fake Jews over in Palestine, Israel, claiming that they the children of God. We already know they are not the children of God concerning Revelation 2:9. When Christ said in Revelation 2:9, I know those Jews, I know those who say they're Jews and are not. So it's not those Khazars in Palestine, Israel that are the real Jews. It's not those Polish and Germans over there that's claiming they're the real Jews. We are the real Jews of the Most High God. The so-called Negroes are from the tribe of Judah. So we did something to piss God off. When we pissed God off, God sent the white man on us and plagued us with disease. This is what I'm trying to tell you. All right? So let's keep it moving, man. I'm going to show you that he did this. Let's keep it moving. Let's see. Continuing on with the lesson. I'm trying to make the lesson as short as possible. Let's see. Let's go to Deuteronomy. No. Let's go to Exodus 4:11. Let's go to Exodus. Exodus chapter 4 verse 11 and check this out. All right. Tonio Johnson, Wanda Smith, Venus Judah Israel, Tadrick Butler. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys once again for tuning in. So now we are in Exodus, the 4th chapter in the 11th verse. Okay, here we go. Now listen up. Exodus, the 4th chapter in the 11th verse. Okay, it says, the book of Shemoth, which is Exodus, the 4th chapter, the 11th verse. And the Lord said unto him, talking about Moses, because Moses was complaining against the Most High, because the Most High wanted the Most High wanted Moses to be a spokesman. Moses told the Most High, he said, look, man, why you got to pick me to be a spokesman? He said, I'm not an eloquent speaker. He said, I can't speak eloquent. So Moses was trying to find some type of excuse to get out the deal. Matter of fact, we'll just read it. Exodus 4:10. And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, neither heretofore, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. So Moses didn't want to be a spokesman. Now watch this. Exodus 4 and 11. And the Lord said unto him, who have made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb or deaf? Or the seeing? Or the blind? Have not I the Lord? So who make dumb people? Who make retarded people? Who make deaf people? Who make blind people? Who make dumb people? People born with a mental illness. Who do that? It's the Lord that does that. You got to read the scriptures, because these people come back off of karmic purposes. What you do in this life will determine your next life, because life works ahead of you. So be careful how you do in this life. Be careful how you treat others in this life, because you will pay for it in the next life. Oh yeah, I know what you was thinking. You was thinking that you only live once. You don't only live once. 3 or 4 generations, you come back through your father's seed line to pay for your judgment, the things that you committed here in this present time. This is how it goes. So it's the Lord that creates retarded people. It's the Lord that creates people with a mental illness, a mental deformity. Blind people, deaf people, lame people, crippled people, paralyzed people, handicapped people. It's the Lord that do these things. So you think it ain't the same Lord that choose white people to send plagues and diseases on us? This is what I'm talking about. You're not going to learn this in the church, man. You got to get with the Hebrew Israelites, man. You got to stop letting religion control you, because you cannot think when you're in religion, because religion is doing the thinking for you. Religion was set up to do thinking for you. Religion was set up as a controlling mechanism to do the thinking for you. You cannot think clearly if you're religious. We're not religious, we spiritual. Being spiritual and religious is far 2 different things. You feel me? Let's go back. Exodus 4 and 11. And the Lord said unto him, who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb or deaf? Or the seeing or the blind? Have not I the Lord? See? The reason why I picked this book, chapter and verse, to show you that if you're talking about sickness, if you're talking about sickness and health, the Lord is behind sickness and health. The Lord is behind every plague and every disease. And the Lord set up a certain nation of people who he wanted to infiltrate plagues and diseases on. And he chose white people to put plagues and diseases on us. There was no plagues and diseases in the Western Hemisphere until European settlers came. Let me show you in the Bible. So if you ever wonder about that tree of knowledge of good and evil that was in the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil is talking about the so-called white man. This is what it's talking about. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you something deeper. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to show you something. Share this with your friends. This is Deuteronomy 28:48. Because the Lord told the nation of Israel, if they did not keep his commandments, that some cursings would be placed upon them. Now watch this. Deuteronomy 28:48. This is one of the curses that came upon the nation of Israel. Who are the nation of Israel? Blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. We are. This is how we know we the Israelites, because we can determine by these prophecies. Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. So who sent police brutality on black people? Who sent no justice, no peace on black people? Who sent unequal rights on black people? Chattel slavery. Who sent that on black people? The Constitution being set up to only serve sovereign people, where black people still ain't got no say so in America, because America was built off slave labor. We already know that. And blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans was never considered to be United States citizens. They was considered to be the burden bearers for the true citizens of this country, this corporation. So my question is, Deuteronomy 28:48 says, therefore shall thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against you. So, who sent the police brutality on black people? Who sent the slavery on black man and black woman, Hispanic man and Hispanic woman? Who did that? It was the Lord. The Lord set up the white man to punish blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans. The Lord set him up to punish us because we wasn't obedient to his commands. We still not keeping the laws today. People doing their own damn thing. And this is why you continue to see this white supremacy being carried out on the blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans, because it's the Lord that's working through the white man to punish his people. I'm trying to tell you something. These white people go all the way back to the tree of knowledge of good and evil in the Garden of Eden, that we was not supposed to hang around. We was not supposed to learn their ways. We was not supposed to have no dealings with them. This is why God tell Adam and Eve in the beginning, he said, don't eat from them. Don't learn from them. Don't do what they doing. But we follow out the white people. We keep their traditions. We keep their holidays. We keep their philosophies. We study their ways. We do everything that they do. We do everything in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All the tree of knowledge of good and evil fruits, we go out there and pluck and we keep eating them. It was never intended for us to go to the tree of knowledge and eat none of its fruits. But we go to the tree of knowledge of today and we still keep plucking and eating on these fruits. And when you eat of those fruits, it causes death in your life. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee, and hunger, because when you want food, you got to go to the white man. And thirst, when you want beverage, some type of drink, you got to go to the white man. Water, you pay your water bill to the white man. And nakedness, when you want clothes, the clothing districts, you got to go to the white man. And the one of all things, if you want to make it in America, if you want to survive in America, you got to depend on the United States government. And the one of all things, that's the white man. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Now, who was the only people in history that had yokes of iron placed upon their necks? It was the slaves. It was the so-called Negro slaves that had yokes of iron put upon their necks, shackles on their wrists, shackles on their feet. That's us. And also the Native Americans that was shipped back to Spain as slaves. That was us, man. The Bible's a history book trying to show you. But you people, some of you people would never get it because you won't humble down, open your mind up. So this is what the scriptures tell you. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. Now let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. Now, who came from the Eastern Hemisphere? Who came from Europe to America? The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. Who came from Rome, Spain, Britain, London? Who came from the ends of the earth? The European settlers. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth. What is the end of the earth? The Eastern Hemisphere is Europe, man. The bottomless pit is Europe. God brought these white people from the ends of the earth. He brought them from Europe over here to plague and disease, to spread plagues, diseases, sickness, sin, and death, man. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the... Wait a minute, let's clear this up. The Lord shall bring a nation from the end of the earth as swift as the eagle fly, as swift as the eagle fly, as swift as the eagle fly. What is the mascot animal for America? I'm waiting. Answer the question. What is the mascot animal for America? It's the eagle. What is on the back of your quarter? It's the eagle. What's in the courthouse? It's the eagle. What's on the side of the post truck? It's the eagle. What's on the back of your dollar bill? It's the eagle. What represents all the American anthems? All the Americans' carols. It's the eagle. Greece used the eagle. Spain used the eagle. France used the eagle. Britain used the eagle. Rome used the eagle. Who else used the eagle? Russia used the eagle. And Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Great Britain, and Russia. All them seven European colonies used the eagle for their similar power. The Romans used the eagle. The Spaniards used the eagle. That's why when the Spaniards conquered the Native American Indians, the Spaniards raped and robbed the Native American Indians and created Latinos. That's why when you look on the Mexico flag, you see an eagle with the snake in its mouth. You guys better wake up, man, because you're not gonna hear videos like this. A lot of people ain't giving this knowledge out. You blessed and highly favored on tonight because you don't hear this. You ain't gonna hear this from a lot of people. It's very little people out there that's dropping this knowledge to you guys. All right? So take notes, man. Write it down. Share the video with your friends. Tell your friends. Okay? All right? As swift as the eagle flied. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Yeah, because the Native Americans didn't speak English, or the Native Americans didn't speak Spanish. The Native Americans spoke Aramaic, which better yet known as Paleo-Hebrew. And we spoke Hebrew too. But we started speaking English after Great Britain took us as slaves. The Native Americans started speaking Spanish after the Spaniards took them as slaves. The Brazilians started speaking Portuguese after Portugal took them for slaves. The Haitians started speaking Creole after France took them for slaves. The Dominicans started speaking Spanish after the Spaniards took them for slaves. You speak the language of your oppressor. Who the oppressor is? The tree of knowledge of good and evil. The so-called white man that the book of Genesis talk about. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. The so-called white man that the book of Genesis talk about. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. So if you ever thought that just was a tree with some fruits on it, you better think again. Because I'm going to say this one last thing and I'm going to close it out. Genesis chapter 2, just listen up. Because you're not going to learn this in the church. Your pastor not going to tell you this. Listen up. Genesis chapter 2. We went over Genesis chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. And it talks about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day thou eat of it, thou shalt surely die. So if you say that this tree of knowledge of good and evil is not representing the evil nation of people, and if you're saying that it's an actual tree with fruits on it, consider what Christ said. Let's go to the gospel. Let's see what Christ said. All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 7, verse 16. Let's use a precept. Matthew 7 and 16. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to show you something. Matthew 7 and 16. They already know what time it is when they tune in with me. Matthew 7 and 16. This is the gospel Matthew. Right? Chapter 7. Let's go to verse 16 to get some clarity here, to get some understanding, inner and overstanding. Now, this is Matthew 7 and 16. Now, when you see red letters, who is speaking? The Messiah is speaking. The Christ is speaking. Now, Matthew 7 and 16 clearly says, ye shall know them by their fruits. Now, wait a minute. Now, who is he talking about? He says in Matthew 7 and 15, he says, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are raven and wolves. Now, so this is concerning false prophets, right? So the main thing that this verse focuses on is false prophets. Matthew 7 and 15. Am I wrong or right? It say beware of what? False prophets. So the whole thing is based around false prophets, right? So let's go to verse 16. Ye shall know them by their fruits. You shall know who by their fruits. You shall know false prophets by their fruits. Now, wait a minute. You shall know false prophets by their fruits. So, do a false prophet walk around with bananas in his pocket? Do a false prophet walk around with oranges in his pocket? Do a false prophet walk around with grapes, strawberries, mangoes, tangerines? Do a false prophet walk around with pineapples in his pocket? Because it says you shall know the false prophets by their fruits. No, what the Bible is saying, the Bible is indicating that false prophets are likened to trees. It's a parable. The false prophets are likened to trees. And all trees don't bear good fruit. Some trees bear good fruit. Some trees bear bad fruit. And so the Christ was telling the people, you shall know false prophets by their fruits. Let's go on further with the lesson. So false prophets was referred as trees. False prophets was referred as trees. You shall know them by their fruits. Do man gather grapes of thorns or figs on the thistles? Matthew 7:17, right? It says, even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. But a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. But a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. This is exactly why God told Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis, do not fool around with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because it didn't have no good fruits to offer. But was it a tree like you go and see outside? No, it was an evil nation of people that had negative characteristics to offer. It was an evil nation of people that couldn't offer you nothing positive. It was an evil nation of people that did wickedly, and God did not want Adam and Eve around those wicked nation of people because their trees didn't bear good fruits. Basically, their character didn't give off good characteristics. That's what it's saying. Let's continue on. Matthew 7:17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. Yeah, like the so-called white man. He can't bring forth no good fruit. What good fruit the white man can bring forth? The white man took this country through rape, rob, and murder. The white man took Jerusalem through rape, rob, and murder. The white man took Northeast Africa, Egypt, and took many other third world countries through rape, rob, and murder. That's why they got 50 stars on the United States flag, because it represents the 50 states that they conquered. Not the 50 states, but the 50 colonies. It represents the 50 colonies that the 13 Illuminati banking families conquered. Christopher Columbus, what did he do? Took over Santo Domingo and killed the indigenous people. Every European settler came over here, raped, robbed, and murdered, and killed numerous indigenous people, stole their land, and named their land after their last name. This is why I'm trying to tell you, boy, you better wake up. This is what the Bible telling you. It says a good tree. It says in Matthew 7:18, it says, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. This white man ain't got no good fruit to offer you. He lied to you through history. He never told you true black history. He taught you his story, if you know what I'm talking about. Told you all these lies. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Christopher Columbus made 4 voyages, basically to the Caribbean. He didn't discover no America. If he did, they would have named America Columbia. Why did they name this place America? Because supposedly Amerigo Vespucci in the year 1492 got the credit. Neither one of those white people discovered America. The Native American Indians was here before they even came. That's a lie you've been taught. And so many other lies concerning the founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. All these presidents owned slaves. All these presidents controlled slaves. This is why to this very day, you don't see not one black man on your dollar bill. Show me a nigga on your dollar bill. I'm not playing, man. Show me one black man on your currency. If you can show me one black man on your currency, I'll show you an angel from heaven. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You don't have no... These people don't have no understanding what's going on. The Bible is a book of the Israelites. The Bible is a book of the chosen seed. The Bible is a book of the blacks, Hispanics, Latinos, and Native Americans that's speaking against the oppressor, that's speaking against the white man. Who you think Obadiah prophesied against? He prophesied against the nation of Edom, the white man. But now the white man has brainwashed a lot of you Negroes with Christianity and taught you to love the oppressor. And now you can't separate from the oppressor. Because you love your slave master, that you're willing to give your last breath for your slave master when your slave master don't give a damn about you or your people. When your slave master the one that keep giving you a false white Jesus with blonde hair, blue eyes, and red skin, along with religion to sedate you and keep you blind. But you still keep following the slave master. I'm not doing this video again, man. I'm not doing it again. The Bible tells you in Matthew chapter 7, verse 18, it says that a corrupt tree bringeth forth a corrupt tree, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Matthew 7 and 19. Every tree that bring not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast in the fire. Now, is that talking about literal trees outside? The Bible says every tree that do not bring forth good fruit is cut down and thrown in the fire. Is that talking about trees outside? No, that refer to good people that don't bring forth good characteristics. That refer to good people that don't bring forth righteous aspects in righteous manner and righteous quality. That's what that's talking about. That's talking about people in the earth that don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments and bring forth and rehearse the righteous acts. If you're a negative, wicked, abominable person, it tells you that you're cut down and you're thrown in the fire. But it didn't refer to humanity. It didn't refer to the people. It referred to every tree. It says in Matthew 7 and 19, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast in the fire. Now, guess what? Matthew 7 and 20. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. It's not talking about knowing a person by bananas, knowing a person by oranges, knowing a person by grapes and apples and mangoes and tangerines and cantaloupe, grapefruit. It's not talking about knowing a person that way, by their fruits, by their ways, by their character, by their conduct, by their morality. You would know them by their character, the way they act. Basically, a person's fruits is their actions. Whether their actions be negative or positive, you will know them by their fruits. But the person is always referred to a tree. The person is always referred to as of a tree. The person, he or she, is referred to as a tree. The way they act, their characteristics, is referred to fruits. And you shall know a person, whether they evil or whether they righteous, through the way they act and in their conduct, how they carry themselves, which is known as fruits. So what was this tree in the book of Genesis, the tree of knowledge of good and evil that God told Adam and Eve not to eat from? It was a bad nation of people that didn't have no good fruits to offer. That's why God told Adam and Eve not to mess with it, not to touch it. But Adam and Eve went right along messing with these wicked nation of people, and guess what? Started learning their ways, started eating their fruit, and guess what? Sickness and death came upon them. Now, who was this tree again? The so-called white man. Number 2, the nation of Edom. Esau, Jacob's eldest brother. Esau, the firstborn son of Isaac and Rebekah. Esau, the first so-called white man born on the earth. Esau, the Edomites. You so-called white people today, you are the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Whether you believe me or not, I don't care if you believe me. Because whosoever don't believe, this lesson ain't for y'all. This lesson is for whosoever believe in the scriptures, as the scriptures have said. You think I have time to just be wasting? I'm trying to wake people up. I'm trying to wake you up. I'm trying to drop that bowl in your head and wake you up. All right? So please believe the tree of knowledge of good and evil is the so-called white man. Now I'm going to tell you, the so-called white man is behind your television program today, if you didn't know this. Wait a minute. Let me go to the folder. I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you guys for sacrificing your time to tune in. I know time is valuable. This lesson is almost over with. Now, let me show you something else. Because when you tune into my channel, I'm not the one to play with. I don't play no games. I'm not the one to play with. You better have it correct when you come and step to Shabar Israel. Because I don't play no games. I have the reference, I have the artifacts, I have the literature, I have the books, I have the backup, I have the claims, I have everything you need to know. And I'm going to show you the white man basically is behind all your television programs, all your weather programs, Hollywood itself, and all this stuff that you like to see on television. I'm going to show you who's controlling it. Because let me show you what is the tree of knowledge of today. We know the so-called white man is the tree of knowledge of good and evil, But the tree of knowledge of good and evil today is also television too.